Starting. Yay!
Hi, Bartello.
Hi, Bartello.
I don't miss you.
Why haven't you been here? You can email me that later, but I'm curious why you haven't been here. Anyway.
She has a stomach bug, guys.
Oh, I really don't miss you.
He has a virus. We love you, Bartello.
Get well, Bartello. When Titus says he doesn't miss you, he actually does.
We'll make a card later. We have to talk about Frankenstein.
I don't want to make you a card.
Titus, she's going to fail you. She's going to fail you. Okay, anyway.
This makes your family. She should have failed me a long time ago.
Back on topic.
Let's talk about the first question.
Yeah, let's talk about the book. Frankenstein, just chapters 6 through 10. Let's address Bartello's question first, because I think it's the easiest question that we're going to address first.
The easiest question.
Yeah,
so I'll read Bartello's question. So romantic writers believe in the spiritual healing power of music. They also believe that people are essentially good and that evil is created by society. Describe how these two ideas are present in the chapters that you have read.
Nathan, based on your face, I'm assuming her voice was just as bad for you as it was for me, right?
Yes, it was.
Okay,
no, we can't hear a word you said, sorry.
It was like, what?
You have to talk that loud, Lily, that loud, because we can hear you when you talk that loud.
I can't scream the whole time.
Okay, so all right, I'm going to read it again, make sure I answer this correctly. Because I couldn't hear anything Mo said because she sucks.
Shut up and just continue. Fight me.
Okay, Nathan, do you want to start answering?
Yeah, sure. All right, so on the entire idea of romantic writers, yeah, you could very easily see that in the passages, there's a lot of use of romantic writing. Like, the one I poked out was on page. I wrote down notes. Page 76, sorry. And it was about the mountains, right? It was like, where is it? Give me a sec while I flip to the page. 76. Aha. It was talking about, dear mountains, my beautiful lake, how do you welcome your wanderer? Your summit clear, the sky. Your summits are clear, the sky and lake are blue and placid. And it just goes on talking about the nature aspect, and it even incorporates like the monster when Victor's talking about the scale of the monster. It seems like whenever Victor is like very thinking a lot about his life, he also incorporates nature into it.
Oh, was that your okay? So I wanted to talk about how the the question asks about how they think that evil is created by society, and I want to talk about the monster and how Victor views him as being, evil just because he's ugly. Apparently I'm evil, whatever. And so I want to talk about how, like, that literally is the embodiment of that. Victor literally created, in his eyes, evil. And I think, when she asks, or when you ask Bartello, because you asked me questions, asking questions. What's my phone? What? Why are you stop being stupid, phone? Okay. You can talk. You asked, how they are present in the chapters. How evil was created by society. I think that the monster is a literal physical representation of how evil is created by the society, and that very much reflects the romantic writing style of the novel.
I wanted to talk about healing power of nature. So towards the last couple of chapters, I believe it was either chapter 8 or 9. Again, he went to the mountains after the execution and everything, and he seemed to have just, I guess, a little bit like he had his hack for a while, but it was kind of short-lived. So you can see like the healing power, although brief, within that. And I also agree with Titus on the good and evil being created by society. Not gonna necessarily agree with them, my own opinion, but I see it in the
Okay.
Who wants to start the first point? Or ask the first question?
Okay. Why not? So I wanted to talk about the ramifications, not ramifications, the meaning behind. Oh my god, Justine, right? She's the one who said she did it, even though she didn't, and then got killed. Yeah, I want to talk about the meaning. Sorry, Bartolo, I'm really bad with names. The meaning behind that and what that often means in literature, otherwise, or in other novels, because that's a pretty common thing. And actually, it's in Ready Player One at one point. If any of you have read it,
Nope.
Yeah. Don't question me. So I want to talk about how, like, it seems to always, exemplify, the character's love for another. In most books, it's like, I love you, so I'm gonna say I did this instead of, making you go to jail or whatever it is, getting killed. Like, that's normally, at least in any book I've ever read or any movie I've ever seen, that seems to be the reason for someone admitting to doing something that they didn't do. Yeah. Like 99.9% of the time. And that's not what happened here. Her reasoning was totally different. And I wanted to point that out.
I did find it interesting that I felt like the trial was very what's it called? The Salem Witch Trials, that book.
Crucible?
Yes, I felt it was very Crucible-esque.
Thinking about the exact same thing.
I thought it was very Crucible-esque because it was just like no matter how much she pleaded, no one believed her only because of circumstances and all the facts evidence seemed to be like not really good evidence. And I also see what you were saying, Titus, where she sacrificed herself in order for someone she loved, but she was going to die either way. And it's just like, it definitely is pointed out to me.
Okay. I feel like this kind of this reference to what I talked about last time, which is how optimism, basically bad things happening in this book. Christine had optimism for trying. Well, I'll talk more in Frankenstein because I feel like more confident in that. Well, Victor, he was confident and chose Elizabeth in the fact that Justine was innocent. But when they figured out that she wasn't, they had more heartbreak over that. And it just led them both into a downward spiral and things like that because they just felt betrayed and everything. And I feel like the optimism here, people having hope for one another in society or in each other, kind of leads to one another's downfall within this.
I agree. Titus, you muted yourself.
Yeah.
It was intentional because I have a feeling you probably hear my mother playing piano. I have a feeling you all feel like hearing old-timey hymns. So I'll just unmute myself when I talk.
You know what's happening.
Okay. One of the points I wanted to bring up was the fact that the book seems very anti-science. Like, it seems to be it seems like science, like especially ever since the monsters was created, Victor has been looking at like any scientific instrument or scientific method as being the source of all evil, and now is like glorifying the nature way he grew up with. Like it said in chapter 70 that he felt like the Chinese and the Asians did it well when they were describing nature. And it felt like he was more at peace and at home with the nature side rather than the science side. It seemed like everything in the book, every time science was introduced to Victor, it only made him feel bad.
Yeah, I think it was interesting how. Yeah, shut your mouth. I think it was interesting how it flipped after he made the monster, which I'm sure he thinks of as a mistake. Especially since it killed his sister, cousin thing, whatever.
Brother.
Right, brother. Sorry. Yeah, it was Justine who got.
His cousin ain't dead yet.
Yeah, that's coming. We all know it. And I think it's interesting how like the monster just seems to represent everything bad, even though really like before he supposedly killed the brother, even though I don't think technically know that as far as I'm aware. Unless I missed something other than them walking around the forest, which maybe it was a vision. I I think it's interesting how the monster is kind of being forced into being this like terrible, terrible thing that like is the worst. But in reality, all it is ugly, and if ugly people are all the worst, then I'm literally the worst. And I'm gonna keep making my ugly jokes all the time. And what was that?
At least you know.
Mo, what do you think about this?
I think that the reason this book is so anti-science in general was because science was like seems to be more man-made and like more human directed. Like humans are in control of science, facts, and all that kind of stuff. Nature isn't controlled by anyone per se, so in a kind of sense it's more pure. It can't really be tainted unless humans touch it. So that's why I feel like this focuses more on nature and is so against science in that reason.
I see. I understand. So, who wants to bring up the next point?
I was going to ask, okay, this is a really big question, even though it seems simple. I was going to say, does anyone see that Victor is supposed to be a symbol for the author? Like, is Victor representative of the author?
I don't think so.
Think so.
Yeah, unless I'm
I don't know too much
here.
about her life, but based on what I've did do a little bit of research, that she was just like a wife of another writer. I don't think she had like the ambition to be a scientist. She might have. I don't know. But like,
yeah.
I really see her in him.
I also think that Victor is portrayed very negatively, and I think that most authors don't portray the person they're trying to assimilate with negatively.
So this is where I'm going to get into my little theory.
Oh no.
So Mary Shelley, she's a woman. All right. Oh,
no.
Camera. So her being a woman during this time in a male-run world isn't exactly the best thing when she's trying to like be the person she wants to be ambitious and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like in that case that Victor is representative of her trying to reach for feminism and trying to grasp that, because they both have these like very ambitious goals, like her trying to become a writer and everything like that and be like well known more so than her husband, and Victor is trying to achieve something great in life with science, and it seems like they're getting a lot of pushback from that. Victor from the scientists and Shelley from our own society, and they both actually experienced a bunch of loss, with Shelley losing her own child and Victor also losing his own child and his mother and others around him so far. That's the only reason why I think so far is if hairless to that. So that's what I know so far. I could be wrong, but yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, I can kind of see it.
I tried here, okay?
And I think Victor is more of a like, I don't know, like a image for what she hated in the society.
I feel like Victor's more of a tragic hero than anything.
I don't think he's a hero at all.
Well, in the sense of his downfall is due to his own personal thing, his own personal hubris. Like, he's really smart, and because of he's really smart, he created this monster who will eventually lead him to his death.
Yes, but how is he's not a hero? Like, I really kind of view him more as like his own antagonist. Like, I don't view him
when
as.
I say tragic hero, I mean not literally a hero, not technically. Yeah, just in the sense that he's gonna his own hubris becomes his downfall. Like that sense of the word Greek hero. I don't agree he's a hero at all. I think he's kind of a meaty butthole.
Scholarly.
I was
Scholarly.
going to say,
There
let me
you
say
go.
he's a coward.
I would also like to talk about the entire like just Victor as a person compared to a character, because as a character I respect Victor, but as a person I don't respect him. If that makes sense.
Yes. So wait, as a person you respect him, as a
I
character you
no, as
don't.
a character I
Okay,
respect
I'm so I was like that makes sense. Yeah, I think for one thing, as a character, he's very well written.
Yes.
He is really a pretty cool character. Still hate this book, by the way. It's a good story, but dear God, I can't read it. But as a person, he's a
Scholarly.
dingleberry. It's very scholarly, right? I think that he puts himself into situations not intentionally. Like, okay, I'm going to be very unscholarly here, but I don't know if you ever watched Parks and Rec. He's kind of like the Jerry in this. I feel like he keeps trying to do something good, and then he messes it up, and everyone laughs at him. Except for everyone doesn't laugh at him. He just says someone die and has to go to like a trial. Also, I'm watching Parks and Rec, or I was, but yeah.
I actually think Victor is more of a what was I gonna say? I had it. Give me a sec. Mo, you can go. Just give me a sec.
I was saying that I neither respect him as a character nor a person, because even his actions as a character I don't respect. Like him trying to him committing considering suicide, not committing it. He's still alive, guys. The fact that he considered that from all the depression he has in his life, I don't necessarily respect it, only because he has people around him, and him not speaking up, literally his own pride is getting in the way of him, and ends up killing him in the end, because had he told someone, they could have, let's say, killed this monster or gotten it under control. Something could have happened before it led him down to the path.
I just found Victor to be very, very selfish. Like whenever he does anything, the first person he takes into account is himself. At their trial, he wasn't worried about whether she was dying or not. He was worried about how they would think of him telling them about the monster. He's not worried about anyone else but himself, and that's my main problem with Victor, is that he's so selfish, and that's what leads to everyone dying is his own self-worth.
But my thing is that actually does reflect humanity. We are a me first generation. So for Victor to have this, I understand it. I don't respect it, but I understand it, because most most people that we see nowadays, they take into account themselves before they do others.
I can't. It's just especially when it comes it's his family. I just maybe it's because of me, but I feel like Victor belongs in a special place in hell because of what he did to his family. Like, not only did he leave, but he didn't tell anyone. He was only concerned with his walks, what he wanted to do at the end of his life. He wasn't concerned about anyone at home. He wasn't concerned about them checking up on him. He wasn't concerned about how his absence made them feel. And I feel like he's just being so selfish.
Yeah. Okay. So Nathan's probably going to be the only one who's going to get this without my explanation. But I actually want to compare Victor. I almost just said the person I'm comparing to. Victor to Hugo Strange. Right? Think about it. Think about it. Right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Going to the explanation, because
okay. Yeah, I don't know if you know this is either Maniqua. So basically, Hugo Strange is a person from Batman. And he is a doctor who revives people, kind of, in a pretty messed up way. He revives people, but pretty consistently in most comic books. He talks about how he doesn't talk about it, but it's pretty obvious he's doing it for himself. So that way he can continue living. Nathan's giving me a glare like I'm wrong. I don't feel like I am, but am I?
No, you're right.
Okay, yeah, I didn't think I was. I was pretty sure I was right with that. And so, depending on the story arc you follow, but if you follow Gotham, the TV series, this gets pretty messed up and pretty screwed over. And I think that, it draws a lot of parallels, actually, to, what's going to happen with, not Victor. I'm gonna keep thinking Hugo. Because Nathan, I don't know how caught up you are on Gotham, but I mean, he loses his lab. Have you even watched Gotham?
I used to, not anymore.
Okay, well, he loses his lab, and you probably don't even know he had a lab, whatever. And he lets monsters out and blah 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 blah. Another parallel, he literally creates monsters. I think it's for one thing. I think that Hugo Strange has a lot pulled from Frankenstein, since he was first, even though Hugo Strange is better. Moving on.
Yeah, I think I feel like Victor just does everything out of his own self-interest. And I think that's why Walter was included into the story, because Walter was similar to Hugo. Walter in the beginning of the story seems to be only thought about himself. He only thought about, oh, I don't have any friends. He thought about, oh, I don't have any friends. It doesn't matter that I'm leaving because I need this sense of adventure in my life and all this. He never really took the time to consider how others felt about his absence. So I think Walter adds into the story as sort of someone for the reader to take place in. Someone like us who are about to embark on a big step of our lives to take place of Walter in order to understand where Victor is coming from.
A question I wanted to insert here kind of was, do you guys think that Victor is just as much of a monster as the one he created?
Yes. Yes.
Titus, you want to explain first?
I mean, okay. Yes. For one thing, he's a giant. Big meanie head. I almost said that. I was like, no, it's for different class. I think that he, like, all of his character traits are in the monster, but the monster has some redeeming character traits, and Victor has none. He's just terrible. So I think that yeah.
I think Victor is as much as a monster because Victor's the only one who calls the creature the monster in the first place. Like, he might be the only one that knows about it, but he immediately calls the creature a monster just based on how he looks, just because he doesn't turn out ideally. And another thing is that I feel like the monster is the exact opposite of Victor, and that's why he hates it so much. Because whatever, I think he's better. The monster is actually better than Victor, because for what Victor lacks up in like physical ability and strength, the creature makes up for it in bounds and leaps. And not only that, he's actually as intelligent as Victor. I think Victor doesn't like I think Victor's more of a monster because he's facing someone who's better than him and automatically deems, oh, you're better than me. You must be some sort of vile creature from hell. You don't belong here because you're better than me. You're smarter than me. Like,
I mean, is that not normal to think? I mean, anyone better than me is terrible. So
you think everyone's terrible?
Hey.
And
shut your mouth.
The reason I agree with you guys in the fact that he's worse than the monster he created was going back to even what Bartolo brought us to in the first place, which was that good and evil was created by society. Again, don't necessarily agree with this whole thing because I think society would already have to have evil in it to create more evil. But my thing with that would be, let me go here. God, Jesus Christ, my thoughts. No, away from me. I was basically going to say that with Victor, again, he just looks out for himself and everything like that, and he tries to like get validation from society by creating something that he thinks will be good. And the fact that this thing wasn't still pleased, like he thought wasn't going to be pleasing in the eyes of society, he suddenly ostracized his own creature. So by doing that, I think scholarly, he's not the best person to do.
Oh wait. I wanted to compare. I wanted to compare Victor to somebody, but I forget who.
What are you looking for here? Is it someone I would know?
I think so. Crap. The I feel like a lot of modern day doctors take a lot from Victor, and I find that very interesting because I feel like you find fictional modern day doctors take after Victor and their search for knowledge. Oh man, who was it?
Doctor Strange? I don't know.
No. Oh,
sadly, you're right.
I know who.
Sherlock
Victor
Holmes.
reminds me of. This is going way off, but like Victor reminds me of like Odin, like Norse god Odin, sort of. And at least in the beginning.
Okay, please elaborate because I don't see that. But
Because in Norse mythology, Odin is the god of knowledge, and he sacrifices literally everything in order to pursue it. He's willing to lose his pride. He's lost his eye for it, and I think that's how Victor was in the beginning. Because in the beginning, Victor wasn't scared to like admit that he was wrong. Like when he was talking to the professor about the scientists he read, and even though they were ancient, he wasn't afraid to show his beliefs. But now I think he's like scared of how society might perceive him.
okay, yeah, makes sense. All right, do any of you have any other little things? I got one left.
No, go ahead.
All right, so okay,
Take us out.
okay. So I want to talk about this is something I'm kind of reaching with here, and I don't know if anyone else saw it or if it's a thing online, but I saw this, and I think it might just be entirely a coincidence, but I'm going to hope it's not. This book seems like really cyclical. Like it seems like like every 5 chapters, like the same thing kind of happens. Like it seems like there's like a rise up, and then okay, so like for the first 5 chapters, there's like a rise, steady rise up. You know, Victor's blah 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 blah, all that stuff that happened in the first 5 chapters, and then the monster's made. And then in this one, you know, monster kills someone, blah 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 blah. Justine, whatever the hell.
Justine.
Yeah, her. She gets killed, and then the monster shows up again. And it's kind of like it seems like it just kind of goes like bop bop bop, and it's just kind of like a constant like cyclical thing that goes.
Oh, I see. So it's like kind of repetitive, where after like 4 chapters of build up in chapter 5, like every 5th chapter, the monster shows up in something, and the monster sort of calms down the situation actually.
Yeah, in a way.
Which is weird considering that the monster is supposed to be a monster who's supposed to bring death and destruction everywhere. He seems, whenever he actually appears in the story, he seems to calm down the situation. But I do see what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm pretty sure it's probably not going to continue. And it's probably just a weird little thing in the first 10 chapters. But I noticed it. I thought it was interesting that, you know, Shelley probably didn't intentionally write it. But I think it's interesting that it kind of worked out that way.
I possibly believe that it might be a representation of the cycle of life and how it's never ending. It keeps repeating itself, just with different people.
And I think I understand why Bartel broke it up in this way, because I got confused because I was reading through volume 1 and I got to chapter 8. I was like, wait, there's no 10 chapters in in volume 1. Then I realized, oh, she wants us to read the next 2, and it makes sense when you think about it that at the end of chapter 10 we're supposed to learn about the monster's life, like the 5-6 months that the monster was alive, and I think she wanted us to break it up so we associate it with this section being Victor's story, and then the next section we read is going to be strictly the monsters.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. Find out. I've never read this book before.
Yeah,
so I don't know. The only kind of Frankenstein I know is the creepy monster thing. So, I think it's interesting, and you know, if there's something like maybe, you know, the next 5 chapters, the first 4 are Victor, and then the 5th one is the first 4 are Frankenstein. No, you did. Pretty sure it's you because I can see Maniqua.
Or am I freezing?
I don't know. So I think the first 4 of the next chapter, if I can make a little bit of prediction, are going to be about the monster, and then the 5th one will come back to Victor and kind of repeat that kind of cyclical thing over again, just in a different way. Also, we've only got 18 seconds left, so you don't really have to worry about that much.
I was about to say we are going to run over in a second or two.
Yeah, no.
Wait, guys, am I still here?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I did not hear what you said, Titus, at all. Sorry.
Oh, well, it's fine, because
We're done.
Yeah, I was lagging towards the last part because I was hearing every other word you were saying, Titus. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it wasn't me, right, Mel?
No, I heard you.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so it
Okay.
might have been me on my part. Sorry.
Yeah. All right, bye, Bartello.
Bye.
Don't feel better.
Bye, Bartello.
Feel better, Bartello.
Eh.
Wait, guys, I did the thing again.
What?
Guys,
What in God's
guys,
name did you do?
guys.
What?
What?
Okay, it froze on me again. I was just making sure you guys were still here.
Yes, we're still here. Just end the freaking call.